If you bring in another God besides Christ, then you don't understand the scripture. And then the very next verse says, and one Lord. For example, does Jesus have a God? Yes or no?
He submits to the Father as his God.
He just said.
Wait, do you want me to break that down?
Am I being punked? You just said I'm making this submissive argument, and then you just said, subordinate argument, and then you just said he's submissive to the Father.
Yeah. So again, did I say that he's submissive to the Father?
What argument was you making with me? You made this whole subordinate argument only to agree that he submits to God. He's submissive to God. But the debate title is Jesus God.
Yeah, that's the debate title. Not is he humble to God. Not is he submissive. See, you're conflating the two subjects.
I asked you if Jesus has a God.
And what was my answer?
You said yes, he's submissive to it.
Would you like me to explain that?
Okay, before you do that, the scripture, just a scripture reference. Right. In 1 Corinthians 11:3, that's the scripture I'm referencing.
Okay.
It says the head of every man is Jesus,
Christ.
and the head of Christ is God.
Yeah, the Father.
So I need you to explain how that doesn't mean that Jesus have a God, because I'm assuming you're about to wiggle out of it.
Well, no, what I'm showing you is that just because the head of Christ is God the Father doesn't take away from Jesus having the same divine nature as the Father. Just like if your Captain Tazariak is the head of Trooper, Israel, you know what I'm saying? That don't mean that Trooper Israel is not human like Captain Tazariak. So what I'm saying, or like, for example, if the head of every woman is man, are they not both human? So notice how this is talking about rank, not nature. So what I'm saying is that yes, Christ humbles himself to the Father. He's subordinate to the Father willfully, but that doesn't take away that he himself shares the same divine eternal nature as the Father, as we see what the scripture says. For by him all things were created. Was he created? If you say yes, then you have to say that the Father created Jesus through Jesus. That makes no sense.
There's no scripture that say that the Father created Jesus through Jesus, but when people want to make Jesus God, you just said that the head of Jesus is God, correct?
Yes, the Father.
So if you said
God the Father, yes, he's the head of Christ.
Why do you say God the Father before I continue?
Because I want to make sure I'm very clear with our language here. I got to make sure that we're talking about the person of the Father when you're talking about God.
Okay.
Being the head of Jesus.
Since we talk of scriptures, 1 Corinthians 8:5 says, though there be many that are called gods, whether in heaven or on earth, but to us there is one God, the Father. So if you bring in another God besides Christ, then you don't understand the scripture. And then the very next verse says, and one Lord, Christ. And any man can be called Lord. David is called Lord. Abraham is called Lord. A lot of men are called Lord. So now we have two scripture references where the scripture Paul says to